Oh,
Commissioner Epson gets seated, we'll start.
Apparently, but I made it.
That's all right.
Just right.
It's good on there where it came. It's 5 o'clock and all the rules and legislative members are present, and we'll have prayer. Let's pray. Our Father, who art the hope of all the earth, remember us in love and guide us by thine wisdom. We ask thee to grant blessings upon thy servants, our community leaders, county mayor, our commissioners, city mayor, councilman. Bless us with wisdom, goodness, and truth. May law and order, justice, and peace prevail. Defend our liberties, preserve our unity, protect our county. We honor thy holy name. Okay, the first item on the agenda is approval of the August 15th, 2023 Rules and Legislative Committee minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. As a public comment period, does anyone want to get on the slate to speak? Anyone want to get on the slate? And then we get some issues and you want to raise your hand, but I'll recognize you as well. Does anyone want to be recognized now to speak? Seeing none, we'll go on. Okay, the next one's in recommendations, consideration of placing the September 12th, 2023 commission minutes on the October 10th, 2023 commission agenda.
Make a motion to place those on the agenda without a recommendation.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The next item is consideration of placing the notary applicants on the October 10th, 2023 county commission agenda as requested by County Clerk Donna Thomas.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The veterans report was in our packet. It looks like they had a big month in August. I think 76 veterans were transported to the hospitals, and 106 came by the office, so they were very busy. I think in July, only 56 were transported, and 89 came by. So, Mike, I know you're here. You got any update, or you want? Okay, well, good. That's good. I'm glad you're servicing our veterans. They certainly deserve it. Okay, the next item is just for our own information, the clinic report. They had they were busy as well. The medical report for August was 157. That's unusually high. And then the dental report was 118. I think Commissioner Henson had mentioned they had an extra a dental person coming in, and so they saw that's the most I've ever seen. But I guess they served 118 people out of the dentist office. So that's great. That's for our own information, but that's quite a bit for both the veterans report and the.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This past week, the community clinic had their 20th anniversary. Commissioner Brothers is on the board of directors. Josh Carney received an award for the work that he's been doing. The mayor has been instrumental in helping them in a number of ways, and others here. And it was a fabulous dinner. It was very good. We got the chance to chat with the chairman of Delta Dental, Dr. Wink, and they have contributed almost $500,000 in dental equipment. The doctors at Meharry have come down. They have upped their game a little bit. They are looking at some very aggressive plans to expand out here. And there was another, it was Meharry, and who was the other? Delta Dental at Meharry. I thought there was one more doctor. Yeah, it wasn't Tennessee State. Anyway, they are doing a tremendous job for a real need that we have in our community. And so thank you, Ms. Brothers, for being on that board, and Josh, for the work you've done to help all of us, the people that really need help. And it's a fabulous operation, and thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Any other discussion or comments? They certainly provide a great service to our community. Okay, the next one is accident report. Commissioner Anderson?
The big thing was the passing of Judy Gamble. We're all going to miss her so much, and it was just a terrible blow. Everybody's going to miss Judy, especially the fair board. We thank Mark Clanton for fixing the PTO on the tractor, and it's broke again. So this may be something we've got to look at in the future. It's an old Mahindra tractor, basically. You can't get parts for it. The bad thing is you really can't swap parts like we're trying to do because it's an oddball size tractor. So you get a 4,000, a 5, or 7. This thing's like a 4,500. Well, probably shouldn't have got it 20 years ago, and we got it, but we got what we got. So that may be something we have to look at in the future, doing something about a tractor. But the guys that got it again, Mark's guys, and they're going to do their best to see if they can't get it running. So that was pretty much the majority of it. And of course, the fair board's looking into wanting to put a permanent facility versus that trailer, as I mentioned before, and it will be a permanent metal building. It'll be almost like a field house, school. Mm-hmm. But that way it would look a lot better. I would like to see the trailer gone anyway, and it would just be, it's kind of an eyesore in the front. This would look a whole lot nicer. And then they're going to look into also about putting a bathroom in, possibly, and let the fair board do that. That would be awesome. So that was pretty much all we had.
Any questions for Commissioner Henderson? Okay, Commissioner.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I mean, you're talking, this restroom is probably a $25,000 restroom, with this grant was gonna be $250,000, which is crazy. All it is a block building with toilets in it, and it's not something that needs to be $250,000. Even with building prices where they are, I would be shocked if it went over 30, would shock me. I mean, Jeff Sweeney and I both thought it was 28,000, and it turns in, when you had to jump through all these hoops, 256. Like I may have mentioned, there's a restroom, it's, I think it's a friend of mine at the state park, is it Stony River or Stones River? Or Old Fort
Old
State
Fort?
Park.
Yeah,
They built
yeah.
a men's room. Y'all have any idea what that men's room cost? $578,000 for a bathroom, because you had to go through the USDA, go through the hoops. And I'm sorry, a restroom just shouldn't cost $600,000.
Your tax dollars at work.
That's your tax dollars hard at work for a bunch of things you didn't need. But look, we're just looking in to see what we can do with the fair board, see if we can't get, and even they're talking about having it kind of match their building, which would match everything out there, and it's all gonna look a lot better.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay, under old business,
We need to approve those.
no, I think they're for our information only. The clinic report, I think the only one we approve is
Veterans.
veterans.
But we didn't.
But we did.
Did we approve?
We didn't? No, I guess we did.
Well, then we move to approve the
Approve it.
veterans
I'll
report.
second.
Yeah, okay, we got a motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Okay, so we got the veterans report approved. Okay, getting to old business, resolution to amend the zoning resolution of Bedford County, Tennessee, originally proposed by Commissioner Anderson.
And we're just waiting on coming back from
Do
the
we-
planning
I was
commission.
gonna say, do you wanna pull it, or are you okay with it?
Let's-
We just cut because it's been.
Let's
evolved.
roll it again. Is that
no,
okay?
That's
fine.
the only
I'm
reason
fine
it's
either
on
way.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Mr. White, maybe you could help us a little bit on where we are with that. Yeah.
So it's really a technical issue that probably should come off of the agenda.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm fine with it coming
Yeah,
off,
yeah.
and then we'll just wait and see what comes back from you all.
That's right.
That's fine with that too.
So, Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
absolutely fine with it.
we're gonna remove this from the agenda, and we will wait for the planning commission to bring forward any
Yeah,
report, so we
I
won't
agree.
roll it any longer on.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second.
And a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's off the agenda. Well, the next is a bylaw section, and there's several things involved with that. You had a copy, and we've got, we'll just, oh, careful.
You got it?
Wow, don't fall down, Mr. Yaki, you break your leg.
Got here.
About the rules. Okay,
Dramatic
good. Go
entrance.
ahead, and you can update some of it, and then I'll follow up with some things, and there may be some questions from the committee.
On the agenda, under the order of business, rather, Ginger was good with removing the agenda approval part. The mayor had some issues about that, too, because of our ability to have two commissioners sign and suspending the rules, so that came off. She reworded the new business a little bit, or just left it as new business, and then added reports, because we didn't have the quarterly reports under there. But other than that, that's all that is.
Okay, so under the old, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, can I?
No,
ask-
absolutely ask questions.
Under our Rule 1, then we're under Section C, Order of Business. And what you've done here is eliminated the way we're doing it under Section C and replacing it with 1 through 12, I think you have, correct? Yes, 1 through 13.
1 through 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but
Okay.
under Rule 1, it says at least 48 hours prior to meeting, most current version of the agenda can be found in the mayor's office. And I noticed that is not in the change.
Right. Okay, so now moving to the section V's part of it. So I've got this, before meeting with Ginger is what was sent to, what we talked about last time and agreed on. So then I took what we all agreed on and went to Ginger, and she made some changes and clarified some stuff, and was pretty adamant about some things that to do and not to do. And she said if anybody, she said, I think she said, or getting ready to go be at the city, but she said she would step out if we wanted to call her. But just going through these, looking at, let's look at number 1 on before Ginger and after Ginger. So any person, this is what she suggested rewording. Any person may address the Board of Commissioners at any public meeting of the commission at which action is to be taken and may speak to any item on the agenda. She did not like the part about for and against, because you're asking a person to declare what they want. And also that you might have someone who's just completely neutral. So number 1 is just any person can address the board. Any questions on that one? On number 2, her recommendation, the commission agenda shall be sent to a local newspaper of general circulation or a local media equivalent to be published at least 7 days in advance of the commission meeting and posted on the county website in compliance with the 48 hours agenda publication requirement. So that really combines 2 and 3. And since there's so much turmoil now about local newspapers, the main part of that is as long as we've got in there that it's somewhere within the 48-hour part, we should be good.
I noticed we went from.
And the 7 days is
Yeah,
what the state statute says.
Okay.
I think Suzanne's not here, but April might be able to say, but I think they do it 10 days ahead. And since the paper is only once a week now, you've got to get it out soon enough. But as long
General
as,
circulation is the word, that's the legislative word.
We also got clarification from CPAS lately in the last week that actually the agenda does not have to go in the newspaper, but it's got to go to the website. But it needs to be general circulation, and we're doing that.
Yeah.
We would continue to do it. The reason the 10-day, that's your old rule, used to say you had to get it to the mayor's office 12 days in advance of it going out for 10 days. And again, the snail mail, making sure that the commissioners had their packets. And of course, that's been updated, or this is what they're proposing to update. The 7 days doesn't bother us. The reason that we had a little bit of just questioning about approving the agenda at the commission is there's a cutoff date. So the only way you can move your agenda around currently, as we understand it, is suspend the rules.
Yeah.
So whenever it's published, the 7 days, that's the agenda. There's no need to approve it at the commission because you've already approved it unless you suspend the rules and add or take something
Yep.
away. Are you in agreement
That
with
makes
that
sense.
as it
That
currently
makes
sits?
sense.
and
So
that's
that was the
kind of what
reason
Ginger
that
was.
particular statement come into question is, how does that work? And if you were to do that, approve the agenda, and then need to suspend the rules, how are you going
How
to
do
do
you-
that?
yeah.
Because you've
How you
just
reconcile
approved that
those
this
two.
is going to be
Yeah.
the agenda tonight.
Right.
So that's
That
the
makes sense.
backstory.
Okay, just stay here. Just stay here. So 2 and 3 are combined. Main part of that is that 48 hours being there. And back to the newspaper, Ginger said she thought, as he said, newspapers, who knows what's going to happen. But we as a commission should want that to happen.
And we're going to do it.
And so
even-
that's why we left it in there.
Well, defining general circulation, that's a statutory requirement. But how you define general circulation, that
Right.
is what the legislature will have to tell us. So we're going to do the best we can. to
Right.
keep that-
And we
Right.
also talked with the Post, the
Yeah.
Bedford Post, about them pushing on to the national, whatever it is, the state level.
The State Press Association, I
Yeah,
think, has a website.
so they're
yeah.
moving that data, even though they're only publishing once a week. That data is moving, plus our
Now, do
website.
they plan a website posted, if they said anything about that?
This,
The
the,
Post, Bedford
they're
Post?
supposed to be, yes, that's in the plan. Now, how quick that
Okay.
gets done, I'm not sure. But they said they would have that, and it would be more up to date, or opportunities to see things on there that wouldn't come out in print till the once a week. So last thing we heard from them.
And moving to number 4 on the after meeting with Ginger, each person should have 3 minutes in which to make their comments. We had originally wanted persons to have 3 minutes per item. Ginger said that was pretty much insane, that this is not a public hearing. This is just public comment, and to leave it as one person, 3 minutes, say what you need to say,
Even if it was on multiple topics.
even on multiple topics. Number 5, on after meeting with Ginger, the chairperson of the commission will be responsible for the order of speaking and the timing of the speakers. So how it flows and how it happens is strictly at the chairperson's,
At the
and he
committee level
can,
as
he can
well.
address that. I want you to address that in just a second. And number 6, the procedure for how public comments shall be given shall be included on any public notice of the meeting as well as on meeting's agenda, shall be posted on the county website, and shall be made available in the meeting room directly prior to the start of the meeting. And that's something we've got to do, and I don't know if all of those things are happening or not,
We
but we're,
believe we're already hitting those. but
when we
that's
get this
based on the-
approved, then we can make sure all that hits right. I wanted Chad to address how his thoughts are, if you all accept this, starting with the fact that you have a clipboard. You don't have the public comment form anymore. You just have a clipboard. So, and the sheriff would bring that up to the mayor's office, to the mayor or Donna, and Donna would
At the
call out
commission
at the commission
committee
level.
Somebody have to bring it.
Yeah.
That's assuming you adopt this. This is based on what Ginger felt like streamlined the structure should be,
Mhm.
by the way.
And so the sheriff brings up, Donna
Should be
reads
a
off the
running list
names.
Instead of individual.
Okay, so
forms.
the list goes in the well, and when at the meeting call to order, the sheriff from the well brings it up to the chairman that has all the names and everything, and then the chairman orchestrates it from there.
That's satisfying the rule that they let us
They-
know in
that's
advance they
correct.
wanted to
That's right.
public comment,
Right.
not public notice. They're two different,
Correct.
you know,
Just-
that's
It's just
where-
comment.
Yeah, that's right.
Ginger did not like the form that we created because it really gave too much information and it was intimidating possibly for someone to fill out all that information. And of course, I've always been attuned, if you're taking minutes for a meeting, to be able to know the right spelling of the person's name and so forth. So we would have that. And but she said do away with this public request form, period, and just have a sign-in.
I know she got item number 7 on the original. Each person shall make their comment to the chairperson in respectful manner, and that's not in the,
She said drop that.
okay.
We will have in the regular commission bylaws,
Okay.
public speaking
Rules, under Robert's rules for
Okay.
decorum.
decorum
stuff
and,
that
and
is
so forth. And
matched,
she
so-
said,
And each
we
chair
don't need that.
has an obligation to not let it get out of hand if they can help it. Now,
Right.
sometimes people will say something, but following that standard and it's still in the current rules. These are only just these issues, but it's still in the current rules. Anything that your local rules are silent on, then Robert's
Robert's
rule
rule
becomes
makes
the
sense.
standard
The
till
core.
Yep.
till you choose to
Until you-
create a new
Gotcha.
rule.
Yeah,
Everybody
to
in
tweak it a little
Yeah,
bit or
and so
something.
nothing's changed about
Okay.
that. That's not being changed here. right?
True. And then on the standing committees, which will fall under Rule 4, it's the same stuff. It's just changed standing committees, chairperson of the committee, and so forth. It's exactly, hopefully, the same.
Well, I mean, is this, do you feel comfortable this is a complete workup on everything, and you think we've addressed? Okay.
But that's really just on these 3 issues.
Yeah.
She's also, is gonna look at your whole rules,
Okay.
local rules. But
Well,
this
there's quite a bit, and there's a lot of other changes. I was fortunate that I went over with Linda last month, and I mean, it goes on. There's quite a few other things that it involves. There's quite a few changes, some in Rule 1 with the conflict of interest. There's also change in the way compensation has changed since the last rules. The public comments, I'd say they're probably much the same, but there are changes there. Certainly in Rule 4, I think it was Section E, standing committees, the way they were appointed, that's all changed. They were done a certain way for
Yep.
20 years, and it was brought to our attention, it was all wrong. So it was adjusted and changed, and that's in there as well. and appointed boards were looked at, and there were several things there that we'll need to go over and continue to look at and study and debate and question and make sure we got it all right, because yes, it will. I mean, we're not through, but you need to get your old rules out and get a copy of the new one and just keep cross-referencing and looking at them and seeing if you're satisfied with them. All of us, that's our task as being members of the rules, and it's quite a bit in there. And I was able to go back through and look, and I didn't see any glaring thing. And, of course, we did bring the Ethics Committee up. It was not active and up where it should be. That was under the appointed boards as well. But there's other things in here. I mean, you can, the one that Linda shared with me, you can look at all the read through there. That's the conflict of interest, which is what we just discussed, and look at the change for both concerning the Financial Management Act of 81. It goes through a lot of different things. And then it still continues through public comments. And then there's a lot of, some things, the changes in death, resignation of a commissioner. Well, you can see the changes. And then there's some here with,
Do we have that?
no, but we will eventually.
What I wanted to do, Mr. Chairman, is after the commission meeting, if we want to go through with like this is, then that will be in place.
Okay.
And then as soon as I stick that in, it's not ready anymore.
So what we're doing tonight, are we being asked to vote on adding this to our rules, knowing that there is more coming, more changes coming down? So if this is included, now that's,
This is just this section.
okay, just this section only, okay. But we have more to come. We have more to come. correct?
Yes, yeah, oh, yes.
Okay. It's a huge
No,
task.
no, it's quite a
It's a
bit.
huge task.
The rules.
How long
It's
since-
kind to me
yeah.
when you get it, but.
Yeah, there's 9 rules in there.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I'm good.
How long has it been since it's all been reviewed? It's probably been a while, hasn't it?
It's been 2, 3 years.
Yeah.
Chuck Heflin and I did it on a major scale last time.
Yeah, that's been 7, 8 years
That's
ago, though, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And
been
we
eight.
made a few changes. in
Okay.
there, but the way Ginger and I looked at it, there was a lot of archaic language in there, like the speaker shall rise and just 1940s and 50s wording. Changed all that, changed chairman to chairperson, and a lot of just bad sentences.
Well, Mr.
It's
Chair,
taken me a long time, I know
I know,
it has,
I know.
but we wanted to get it right.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think if we're just working on this piecemeal at a time as we go and place it in here, I think I'm okay with this, and I would move that we submit this as part of the process, continuing process here, and we submit this as being a finished product.
Second.
Okay, the order of business and then the public comments.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Rule 1,
Rule 1,
Section
Section
C,
C.
and Rule 1, Section V.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Rule 4, Section B.
Name of
Yeah,
the section.
Okay.
okay, so those two, are
Yes.
we comfortable with?
Yes.
Okay, is any other questions? Any other commissioners have any questions? Any other discussion? Motion?
Yeah, I made a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
About to say.
Sorry. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, any other business to come before the Rules Committee? Any announcements?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have one quick one. The mayor and I sat in today on our broadband program. We are coming towards a deadline for the middle mile, last mile section, and that is a precursor to the BEAD grant, which is going to be $890 million that's going to come into the state to get the entire state broadband access. But this middle mile, last mile grant is to find those areas that are most likely not going to be quickly serviced because of their rural in nature and the topography and all that. So the mayor and I sat with United today, and the mayor of Franklin County, the mayor of Moore County was not there, and they are going to be asking us to do what we did the last time with our letters of support. Fortunately, because we went and involved ourselves with the Broadband Accelerant Program, the 15-week program where we had anywhere from 15 to 40 people at our meeting, we are in a pretty good spot to move forward with that. But we're going to need letters from the commissioners again, like we did the last time. We're going to need letters from our schools, hospital, sheriff. I'm going to need you. We're going to need the register of deed, all the local officials to write a letter as to why we need broadband, and how it impacts you. And so it looks like, what did they say, Mayor? Was it late October when they're going to start? Maybe by January, they're going to award, and hopefully we will have our application. It has to be prepared by United. We can't prepare it. They have to provide, because they're the provider in there. So we will do that. But it is a point system grading with 224 points based on different categories. How does your plan look? How's your community involvement look? How are you addressing these other issues? And so the higher your point scale is, the more opportunities you have to get the grant, because it is a competitive grant. No grant can be over $15 million, and it's statewide with X amount of money in it. So it's a real opportunity to some of our rural areas that need it and won't get it until much later if we can grab it up now. So I want to make the commission aware where we are on that. We're moving forward. Our broadband committee has just done amazing work, and we spent 15 weeks to do that. So I'm really excited about all the work that we've done on that.
If we can get letters from neighbors, whatever, what is the deadline we need them by, and where do they need
September 29th. Let's collect them in the mayor's office there.
Okay, the
If you
mayor's
can
office.
email them to him.
And they
That's
also
just
said
10
it
days.
can be just an
Yeah.
email, it don't have to be a formal letter.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I will tonight, I will email everyone on the commission of the bullet points that need to be included in the letter. But we're looking here's the bullet points, but how does it affect you, and what has happened to you because you don't have broadband? It's why, in your district,
Yeah.
you've got a school. And some of our kids can get broadband at school, but I know 3 of my grandchildren that don't have broadband at home,
Yeah.
and so they can't.
Will's gonna be a big winner out of this deal, because they're basically gonna run it to Marshall County, so it's gonna follow 64, they're gonna drop down to catch your unincorporated areas. That's really gonna take a huge burden off of no connectivity in that corner.
Yeah.
They're gonna come right down War Trace, Bell Buckle, Normandy, they're gonna slice right down through the main there. Again, we're gonna be almost connected. When we saw the map today where our reds are, they're gonna blast right through the middle of those reds. And with that main line coming through, then that bead, as they refer to it, that last mile will be much, much easier. And the federal government's dumping the money in that. That's really gonna put the connection in the houses. So we really don't need to pump the brake right now on this. We need to get this middle
gas.
mile, because that's what's gonna give us the connectivity.
I'll give as many letters as I can.
Yes,
No. But they're building off of the other maps that
You're getting it in the 5th. Imagine going from.
Nowhere to, who to
Imagine
focus
it like-
on.
I get it.
and then they're gonna splinter off spots like a Ross in places like that. That will, if nothing else, I'm talking about, if nothing else, there was already a plan looking for if nothing else, a cluster maybe is the word of strong connectivity, even in some of those pockets that are hard to just weave into. But without this backbone, that might not be the right technical term, that they're doing here on the middle mile, though, you don't have anything to work with.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's critical we get here.
It's gonna
And
come
then the federal
from
money's
both
gonna drop behind it.
Behind
And
that.
then they say, and that's probably true, that's probably the last of federal money
Yeah.
for a long time for broadband. So we need to make sure we're at the trough first, which is what Greg and his team have spent 15 weeks making sure that we get to go to the front of the trough.
And this will be our 3rd opportunity. Today with Franklin County, they've done nothing. Moore County's done nothing. So we need that. If they've got a name and address, we need that information as part of our data.
That's the kind of people you need.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you need.
Perfect. Thank you, Abe. But they've had no funding in Moore County, no funding in Franklin County, very little in Lincoln County, and we're coming our 3rd bite at the apple. So we are way ahead, and it's improving every day. So we want to get everybody that option and that opportunity. And especially our kids in school at Cascade over there, we want to make sure everybody that goes to Cascade, goes to Liberty out in the rural areas, all of them, nonprofits.
So we'll be
centers.
sending a note to these schools, let their
Schools.
people know.
Yeah.
Get
This is a
something done.
short turnaround time that we need to get
They
this
got
back
10
in.
days.
It's compressed. It's
10 days.
compressed. So
Yeah.
We got a flyer to ask the schools to hand out to their kids.
Okay.
Yep. So we have a meeting in the morning at 8:30 on how we're going to go move towards that, and so that plan will come out real quick. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, thank
Meeting
you.
in the morning.
Any other announcements? Any other announcements, any other business? Being
I'll
none,
make a
then
motion to
a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so moved.
Committee to order. Note that Sylvia's out on a trip, so she did let us know that she would not be here earlier. Commissioner Boyd, if you would mind saying a prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day that we've had today. This is a great time of year. The weather's fantastic, and we're so thankful for it, dear Lord. Thank you for this community and this county that we have. Please bless this meeting tonight, dear Lord, and please help us to do everything in your will and the way that you would want it done, dear Lord. Please bless each and every person in the room. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Is that football weather?
It is football weather. It is football weather.
It is football weather.
All right, the first item on our agenda will be the approval of the August 15th, 2023 Law Enforcement Committee minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda will be the reports. First up is animal control. I think you have a copy of that in your packet.
I think so.
Hello. I don't have anything to add to the report. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to take them though.
Anyone have any questions for animal control?
Everybody's full, yeah.
Commissioner Vick did come and adopt a dog though. Yeah, we are very full. Guys, if you know anybody who needs dogs, cats, please send them our way. We got to get them out. We got to get them out.
Yeah, we're even seeing the other shelters in other counties. We're reaching to them with the same phenomenon that we're dealing with, so.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And usually we have slowed down by this time or have seen an end in sight. It's not like that this year.
I think the economy is showing up.
Yeah. Animal control has changed over the 9 years that I've been there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we do. So we have a county Facebook page, and then we also have a pet finder. After the animals are spayed and neutered and are fully ready to be adopted, they are automatically uploaded onto Pet Finder. And if anybody needs that web address, it's petfinder.com. We usually try to write a little story or something in there about the pet. So we are uploaded on 2 different sites.
Let me ask this, after you get these ready for adoption, they've
Yes,
been to the vet and do they have all their shots and they're ready to go, or is that something that?
They do. So all of our animals are fully vaccinated, even with a rabies vaccination. Of course, that's state law, if they're old enough. They are spayed and neutered. All the dogs are microchipped. We're very fortunate to continue to have Dr. Cooper to come down. Sometimes she saves us money if they, have to have like an eye inoculation or a limb taken off, she does that right in our facility. We've been trying to spread the word that Bedford County, that we're very blessed to have a spay and neuter clinic, and people need to utilize that, because we get multiple calls a day. Well, hey, can you spay and neuter my pet? Well, no, we can't. We don't have a service permit, nor do we have the staff to do that. But they can for sure use Middle Tennessee Spay and Neuter Clinic. That's a great operation. They even have things, paperwork you can fill out for low income basis. And, you know, a lot of people are like, I can't afford $200, you know, but they go off of low income. And I wish we could get that out there a little further, and people would really start utilizing it.
Is that the one located right across from the old hospital?
Yes, right before the Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah,
No.
like if you're,
Yeah.
they'll do,
and they do also take sponsors, by the way. You can sponsor
yes,
their clinic.
yes. And we take sponsors. If you guys want to come in, I know Commissioner Epperson, she kind of watches our page fairly closely, and she'll help out. And a lot of people do come in and sponsor that can't, like, have an animal, but they will come pay the adoption fee forward, which is why it's very confusing in this time in animal control, because even the waived adoption fees from people paying it forward is not getting them moved like it has been in previous years.
Which is why we think economy is part of it.
Yes.
Because people are
Absolutely.
tired, more to, you know,
Absolutely.
they're tired.
Any further questions for animal control?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
It is. Next will be the sheriff's department, and we have part of your report, but it says it's not enclosed. We got it, I guess. Go ahead.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I think the part you do have, but I like to, I guess because I'm proud of it, the Bedford County Sheriff's deputies in the month of August patrolled 2,500 miles each day. 842 warrants were served. So I'm not going to go down through all the individual stuff, but they've been doing good, working hard. Drug Task Force in the month of August, 16 investigations, which involved 34 defendants. $662 or currency were seized from the drug defendants. Pretty much the same as always on the drugs that were confiscated. 8 of the defendants were out on bond, and 3 were on misdemeanor probation for previous arrest. So a lot of it's repeat stuff. I do not have the court security report, so I can't give that to you. Jail Administrator Ronald Prince is here, but I'm going to give you this. In August, the total jail intakes and releases was 299 males and 129 females, for a total 428 correction meals served, 353 snacks, 33,956 meals at a cost of $1.37 per meal. For the juveniles, 261 snacks, 1,050 meals that we serve for the juvenile detention. Present holding is 276 inmates. Evidently, 9 males were sent to TDOC, Tennessee Department of Corrections. We took in, this part Linda likes, $141,845.07 in the month of August, and of that, 115,000 was for state inmates that we're holding. Total work hours for the inmates that are going out on work programs was 3,344. Total work crews were 8. And we saved, and this is calculated at $14 an hour, we saved the city and county in the month of August a total of $46,816. And that is about it.
What about our SROs? How's that going?
It's going well. I believe Chief told me we just lack one more. One more. As far as having enough hired. That has gone better than I thought. I figured we'd be here this time next year talking about it. But we've been real fortunate to get some certified officers. Some of our previous officers have come back. We've actually 2 or 3 city officers, certified officers, have come over, have left the police department and come to work for us that was interested in being SROs. And we've got one right now certified that if it works out, and I think it will, she's certified as well. And then that should, at least as far as having them hired, should have it. We've had a problem somewhat, like everything else, the supply. I know we sent one officer, and this has been a couple of months ago, I guess, but we sent him down to get uniforms, and I think he came back with a belt, and that was it. So. Anyway, but it's coming along.
We're working with the school system while we're in this transition to actually have an officer present while we're ramping up to our full capacity.
That is correct. And the city has been a big help, but I noticed, matter of fact, this morning, I noticed Southside School, and they've always had a city officer there. This morning, there was a sheriff's car there, so I think they're slacking off.
Well, we took, starting this week, we need 2 of the new SROs in place. Starting, next Monday, the city will be down to hopefully within 20 days roughly, we'll have all the.
That's great.
Yeah, we've been blessed for sure, and Chief's been on top of it and working with Brian Cruz and others and keeping officers in all the schools and getting it transformed over to where we have it all.
Sheriff, I know a while back you talked about the work crews, and there were some changes in the I think the state law or what have you that may would restrict allowing the inmates to go out into the community and help. Can you give us a quick update on that one? Where are we? Do we have the same amount of crews going out? Has it changed the way we interact as it pertains to that?
Well, right now, it hasn't changed at all. I don't think this new state law takes place until January, I
Yes,
think.
sir.
Am I correct on that? And, yeah, it's probably going to affect some because it's going to be like you've got to have either a uniformed officer or someone that's been trained and certified. And maybe some costs too. But it doesn't take place. So right now, no, it's no change in what we're doing. But when we get to that point, then there's gonna be, and of course we've got the ones that go to Tyson. So it's like who's gonna pay this?
Right now, that's the ankle monitoring if they're not under direct supervision of
Yeah.
an official, right?
Yeah.
So that would still be an option potentially for the county if they needed to in a few spots, or if we
Yeah.
were working with the city on that. There's no reason that wherever they're going wouldn't be responsible for that fee.
Yep.
Would you agree with that?
They'll have to, yeah.
Right, unless it's somebody that we're using. Yeah.
So I don't fall.
Pat Marsh did say that the legislature was going to make sure on that it wasn't going to be a burden to the county.
I don't know how they're gonna do that.
We'll see.
They,
We'll see.
well, yeah, that sort of caught everybody by surprise. I'm not real sure how that's But it did, but it did. And I hope maybe they'll change it, but that'll take another year.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Anything?
Do you have any questions for jail?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Next will be the EMA report.
I don't have anything to add to my report. Two things, though, I'd like to kind of be proud of and be known. So this past week, Bedford County participated in one of the school tabletop drills. There was only 3 done in the state, I believe that's correct. So far, we were one of the counties chosen to be a part of that. Our law enforcement, our fire, our EMA, school folks participated in a tabletop-led exercise with an armed intruder. Unfortunately, I was not able to be there, but I did receive feedback, even when I was gone on vacation, from people that were proud and had good things to say about where we're at in the county. I know we learned some stuff. I've talked to Akia a little bit and some other folks. We learned some. We got some questions, some things we need to look at. But as far as where we're at, they were pleased. They said we were way far ahead than anywhere they've been so far. So our safety groups, our safety teams, what their schools are doing seem to be on point, and we're headed in the right direction and following what we have to do for the new laws and so forth that's coming down the pike, or it's already come down the pike. So I was proud of that. Wish I could have been here. Hated I missed that. But it was 2 thumbs up from everybody. So I just want to let everybody know that. The second thing is, Heather Mathis, I can't think of, what's her name? Mathis. Right. From Channel 5. She used to be a weather person there. She's kind of stepped down, and she's on Talk of the Town now. However, she was a part of having, bringing legislation in about Safer Place, it's called. It's relieving churches, other establishments, the liability of having people to come in for storm shelters and things like that. In our county, as everybody knows, we've had storm shelter program for many, many years. Scott brought that in. And so we were called, we had a regional director meeting the week before I left. They called and asked if they could come down. They knew we had a storm shelter program and wanted to talk to us. So I called Scott out of retirement, said, hey, buddy, can you come down and help me? So he did. Thank you for doing that. But we're going to be featured sometime in the next near future on the Talk of the Town, talking about this storm shelter thing and how Bedford County has been doing it and how we're kind of already been a part of it, but then trying to sell it. Their thing is with this Safer Place is same thing as everybody knows. It used to be called Snowbird or whatever, the little thing that crawls at the bottom. So during severe weather now, they'll have a little crawler that says what shelters are open in the different counties. And we're actually going down tomorrow to talk in a roundtable with other counties in Middle Tennessee area. There's a lot of counties you would not believe that the number of counties that don't offer shelters or somewhere for folks to go. So they're coming in and try to figure out how they can use this new law, how we implement it here. So another thing to be proud of that we got picked to kind of shine on. So I just wanted to add those.
Congratulations.
Yes, indeed. Congratulations.
That's all I have.
What about TAC in our emergency communication system?
Right now, if you're around town, you may see somebody on a tower. We had 2 guys on a tower today down at 911 where we have a tower. They're doing microwaves and running hard lines, setting racks, and getting ready to bring equipment in. They'll be doing that for the next couple of weeks. Then they'll be running some tests to make sure everything's good there, and then we'll start the process of equipment for our public safety people and our radios and and things like that will start coming in. So we're on schedule for that right now. But we've had some good weather, so they were pleased. I was actually on a call with them yesterday. So everything is looking good with that.
So that's our totally integrated emergency services system, you might say. Police, fire, EMS, 911, all these folks are on this. And because we were able to transition to this program, we'll be tied to the state as well.
That is correct. It's a statewide, TAC-IN is a statewide program. Prior to opening it up to entities like ourselves for public safety, the Highway Patrol was on it, TDOT was on it, those folks like that. So that's how the Highway Patrol could call someone across the county. They broaden that out. They're always upgrading that and changing that. So, yes, we'll have that capability also.
And we're able to fund that with ARP funds. So that's something good that comes with something bad with COVID. Because we were in a situation where we had to change out the system we had, and we really didn't have a good path to fund it, and would not have been able to fund such as the gold standard, which would be to go on to the state system that would really put us on a national system if there was a national disaster. Because if Tennessee, or when Tennessee plugs in, we would automatically be in as well. Right. That's the concept of that network model. So
That's
we're
correct.
excited to be a part of that.
The goal is to go from state line, top to bottom, east, west. So they're building that out more and more. As more and more counties come on, it opens the avenues for other folks. So it is a very good thing to have, even if we have some type of mutual aid, something where we have to respond somewhere else. That's correct. They dropped that.
That's right.
Right. So when it first started, it was very costly because you had yearly fees. You had to pay for all the equipment that you got, the radios and things like that, user fee. So it kind of started off slow. The state decided they were going to drop those fees, and when they did, they got a lot of people to come back to get on board with it because it's a no-brainer. It's a good system, and slowly, surely, there's more and more folks. Coffee County right now is using it. Moore County is looking at using it. We're looking at using it, and several others. So it should be a good thing.
And just so everybody knows, the radio system that we presently are operating off of now has lived its life. A lot of the components are not available as far as parts anymore. And as Josh well knows, we took a lightning hit, probably 6-8 months ago, and it was very difficult to make all this stuff work again. And so it had lived its life. Like I say, the technology changes every 6 months, doesn't it, Josh? But it had lived its life, and that's how come we were able to get to where we're headed now. So, and it's going to be a big learning curve for all of us, I'm afraid.
Well, that's one thing about public safety, and people that know that is they don't like change very much.
Yeah.
We get in our little creature comfort areas, and everybody does in whatever job they're in. So it is going to be a change for some, but that's all right. We'll get it.
We'll get there.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay.
Next will be juvenile detention. And
I don't think she can be here tonight, but her report's
her
in here.
report's enclosed. The next is probation. I don't
Yeah,
see-
and I don't think he could be here tonight. Again, his report's in here.
And just so y'all know, I have observed a couple of different times of his drive-through thing, and it is busy, not only with just drive-up people, but walk-ins. I mean, I see people lined up out in the parking lot to check in, so.
It's reaching people that weren't compliant otherwise, and the whole idea is to get them compliant and keep them out of the system.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. I mean, it makes sense when you say it, but I mean, you think about it, there's an awful lot of people that don't have transportation readily available, and they are more close in this general area, not necessarily right here on the square. That's a trek to get out there just to do that. So we're excited to see what we can do with that, but we recognize that we've got other opportunities in that area as well. So, but I think this is going to be something we're going to need to continue to evolve for sure in some capacity as we go forward. But it's certainly been successful to this point.
Yeah. So, Mr. Mayor, you're talking about is this the building that was just awarded to the, or given to the city?
Nothing's been given to the city. The city, there
Or
was.
whatever the transition was, but we are transferring ownership of the building, or?
Only if this body decides that. Early on, there was discussion about city and county 4 years ago about the potential of working on something that would allow for a overlook and some other things, but there was no commitment made there. That has to come back to the commission, would have to vote to do that if the time comes. But that is the general area where they're looking at that. That project on the city side stalled for a few years. The grant got denied, I think, one time, and then they had to reapply a couple of times because they had to be the grant recipients to try to do what they're going to do with the walk. We just happen to actually have the space that would allow for some type of park, christen them, and it was all part of our original vision of trying to create excitement downtown. But it's not a done deal unless the county commission agrees to enter into something with the city in regards to that. And I did talk to them about that. They came to see me a few months ago saying that they were further along and they wanted to get some architectural drawings and some engineer looks at some of these things. And I told them at that time that that would have to be revisited by the county, that yes, we had looked at it and talked about it and thought where we shared common interests, we would try to work together. But that there was a lot of things happening in county government now, as well as downtown with parking and what have you, that would have to be revisited at the time. And so I've not had any other contact with them asking for any official vote or decision by the commission, whether we would pass that along or not. Right now, that's fully the possession of the county.
Okay, I appreciate the insight. I mean, it was my understanding, and Chris, I don't know, I would hate to lose that location for what it's benefiting, right, the community, but it was my understanding that in some publication that it was a done deal, so I assume that it's not based on what you said, Mr. Mayor.
Correct.
So, okay.
I mean, I'm not aware, I've never brought it to the commission, and I spoke with them, they come to my office to talk about it. I wouldn't have the authority to give it away anyway. Okay. It would take the commission doing that. And there might be some reason at some point to look at it, and early on, when there was nothing going on here, we were looking for anything that would create excitement, but they got stalled with some of the grant process at the time, and then there's been a lot of things happen since then. So I think it's certainly worth visiting whenever they kind of figure out exactly what they would need to have to make it work versus, it was a loose concept at the time, utilizing all the space. There may be an opportunity to maybe not have to have all of it. As more things are going on here, even with parking, we're starting to see parking be more of a premium up on the square itself. And when I got here, there was a lot of concern there wouldn't be any cars on the square. And that's not related to me, but I'm just saying because we were transitioning the court system. But the No one's reached our office.
Okay.
So they just talked about it. That's all they was. This is for them.
Oh. So was that this last Thursday? You're talking about, okay, yeah, I don't know. My office has not received anything at this point.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
I'm not
Gill.
aware of any other committee having received anything.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Chris.
Any further questions? Next, we'll need a motion to approve the reports as presented.
Motion to approve.
And second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Other reports, any other reports to come for this committee? Any old business? Any new business? Announcements? Just remember, I reckon every kid in every school is selling something. But be sure and support them. It all goes to great programs. I know my grandson's involved in baseball, and we bought flowers and selling tickets to something, I don't know, but it's all very important to every one of our schools to support the kids that you choose to support, different programs, and we got some great programs in our school system. This is their way to make the funds to do their projects, so, because it's not all school funded.
Mr. Chairman, there's an event, too, in War Trace. They're having a car, truck, motorcycle, whatever show there during the field. So to benefit the volunteer fire department there in War Trace, so it'd be a great opportunity to support that as well this week.
Support that, and then one also coming up in Flat Creek, barbecue, so there's a lot of things going on.
I think it's next Saturday.
It's
not this
next
coming
Saturday, yeah. The next one, be the 30th, yeah. So Linda and Scott, you know.
We'll be there and we'll be full.
And it is good, I can tell you, those boys put in a long time cooking all that, so. All right, any other announcements? Hearing none, we'll motion to adjourn.
Motion.
We're going to go ahead and call the Courthouse and Property Committee meeting to order. If everybody will bow their heads in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for all the many blessings you've given us. Please give us the wisdom to make the right choices for our county. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Commissioner Hooker was not going to be available tonight, and Commissioner Neely's absent. The first thing on the agenda is the approval of the August 15th Courthouse and Property Committee minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next is codes.
I don't have anything to add to my report, but do you guys have any questions for me?
I don't think I have anything. Do you have anything?
Amen.
Does anybody have any questions for her? Great report, as always.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, zoning and planning.
Well, I actually do want to add something to my report. One, and this goes with the codes department as well, and that is that we're getting very close. I think in October, we're going to have a week-long training session with the software vendor, and we'll be training for the first 2 hours of the day for the whole week, and then the last 2 hours of the day. So there'll be some intermittent closures of the office because the entire staff has to attend these meetings, and then the end result of that is the very next week we will go live with the new software. So it's important that week that we just fully inundate ourselves with every possible problem that we can find, and really work to try to make it fail as best as we can, so that during that week that we'll get the best product. The other thing I'll bring up, and I only bring this up because I didn't really think about it until earlier in the Rules and Legislative Committee meeting, when they brought up the resolution that was, I guess, brought up many, many months ago about the zoning resolution. So we're still working on the plan development regulations, but we're very close. But here's kind of a hiccup that we're looking at, and I'll tell you kind of essentially my plan to move forward with this. And that is in conversations with TDEC, the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. They're the entity, of course, that approves septic permits and all wastewater permits in the state. And they will be getting out of the soils evaluation business, which is a kind of a super important thing because, as you know, in a lot of cases, they themselves come out and do the soils evaluation for the issuance of a septic permit. They will no longer do that. They'll still issue the septic permits, but they're getting out of that business. So as it relates to plan development, where we are going to be looking at a step system or any sort of alternative sewer system for an entire development, there had been some of the commissioners had expressed quite a few concerns about different types of SEP, who's approving the SEP system, all these different things, who ends up owning them, all these different things. So because of what's happening at the state level, one of the suggestions was made to me, and I've been exploring it with a lot of detail, and that is potentially recommending to the Planning Commission, and of course in that recommendation, if they agreed with it and they wanted to forward that recommendation to the County Commission, would be the recommendation from me would be for the county to form its own wastewater authority. Now, I'm not suggesting an expensive one with lots of employees or anything like that. What I'd be suggesting is essentially a board. And that one of the things that would give us some power that it would give us that I think would help some of the commissioners feel more comfortable with these type of systems is, A, that wastewater authority would have the ability to set its own standards. And when I mean its own standards, I mean standards over and above what TDEC's minimum recommended requirements are for these type of systems. There are some examples around the state where different counties have their own wastewater authorities, and I think sometimes it could be as extensive as having your own water treatment plants and sewer treatment. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is that we just have a board that oversees this and can promulgate some rules that would say, okay, the minimum requirements for a step system would be X, Y, and Z over and above the minimum required standards for TDEC. So TDEC actually, interesting enough, doesn't have exact regulations for private wastewater systems. So what they do is they have minimum recommendations. And there are a few counties, one of which would be CUD, Consolidated Utility District in Murfreesboro, or Rutherford County, that actually has a set of standards that, according to TDEC, top person is the standard and the model for the entire state. And so, although a system approved by CUD would not allow as many homes as, say, the minimum recommended standards would allow in a subdivision,
they feel comfortable with those regulations in terms of the stability and the longevity of those systems. And so, but this wastewater authority, the way that I would recommend it be formed, could have its own regulations. B, it's another step that gives, I think, Bedford County a lot more control over the type of systems that get approved moving forward. And so, and what I'm suggesting in the way that I would be drafting it essentially would just provide for some attorney fees, and that's about it to establish it. But it's a complex way to go about it with the state and to get it authorized. And I've already drafted some couple of resolutions for the county commission that I would, and what I'm planning to do next month is a study session with the planning commission, not an actual meeting where I'm asking them to approve something or to recommend it, but a study session where I can explain it and then have them sort of evaluate what it is and why I'm asking them to do it, and they can look at the details. Also, that gives them a whole month to think about it. It also allows an opportunity for county commissioners who will eventually be coming in or eventually be confronted with it, potentially if it's recommended, to better understand, opportunity to better understand what it is I'm recommending. The reason why I say this is because this plan development regulations sort of intentionally put them on standby, because if we were to move down that direction and the county commission were to support that, and then a few months later actually get it to the state and then get it approved, then that language would have to be latticed and woven into that whole plan development set of standards. And so, with that said, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to work to get that to you guys, to the planning commission first, then to the county commission, and then turn around and rewrite the whole thing. So if that makes sense.
It does. Does anybody have any questions? Commissioner Vick? I think so.
I feel like that, Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Hooker, both were, I know Commissioner Hooker's been very concerned. He's had some friends that he's had some bad experiences, and he really wanted to look at this issue a lot more deeply. And so whenever I heard the information from TDEC and kind of the direction they're headed into, I felt like that this probably would give the county a whole lot more control, and it also gives us tools that we currently do not have.
Makes sense. Does anybody else have any other questions? I think that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Chris.
It's a good plan. Okay, IT department.
So you should have a copy of my report. We've got a lot of projects going on right now. We're in the process of deploying Quest, which is for the Juvenile Detention Center and Juvenile Court, and it allows them to integrate the juvenile inmate information system, integrated with the circuit court clerk, and so that they can all have one pane of glass. It's modernizing some old legacy equipment. It's bringing them online so that they can access these reports and submit cases and access case notes from home or from outside of the office, which is kind of where things are headed in some cases, especially in situations when you're dealing with troubled youth, and those don't always happen during school hours. So we're working with those on them. We're also deploying an NCIC system for the Sheriff's Department, working with them on that. We have quite a few other projects underway. We're upgrading some equipment in our offices, making some improvements in the conference rooms so that we can have a better streaming platform and streaming environment for our users. Always trying to make changes and improve where we can to give Bedford County great footing on being able to interact with the public constituents and let them have all the access they need to the information they need. But I can take any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, looks like we're good. Thank you. Okay, fire department.
You also have a copy of my report enclosed, and I'll just bring you up to date. The grant that we received from the federal government for the air packs, SCBA is what we call them. The committee met last night with the first vendor to evaluate that vendor, go over their pros and cons, and we'll be doing 3 of those. There's only really 3 companies that make this product in the U.S., so they'll evaluate each one, come back with a recommendation, and we'll see how the dollar falls at that point. Also, we took delivery Saturday night of I won't say a new truck, but a newer truck. It's a quick response truck. It's called a CAF system, and that is compressed air foam. So what it does, it injects air into your water line and foam, so it makes your water go further. So we don't have to haul as much water. That'll be stationed at a Station 9. And then probably 15 months ago, we ordered a new engine to replace one at Unionville, and we're hoping delivery sometime in December. They still have not got the chassis to come into the factory, but they're hoping that once it does, by December, we'll have that truck in Unionville to replace a 1998 model truck down there. So. And we're still going through the training process of the new software. Hopefully, cutover date, if we're ready, will be in January. That's when our reports and everything start all over. Start with report number 1. They felt like that would be an easier cutover date for us to, instead of in the middle of the year. That's all I have.
Okay. See,
Yes. Now, stay with me. On that SCBA, their breathing apparatus, that grant, and we got a grant to do this. It's a big, was it 900 and something thousand?
850, something like that, 60,000.
And there was a match if we were to get it, and they've applied for it before and didn't get it, but we made a provision in the budget in the past if they got it, and the provision is in the budget this time so that we will be able to exercise that. So that's already budgeted, and that's a huge, huge relief to the system because we were really just one more budget away from having to decide to borrow money ourselves and go forward because some of the equipment they're using is at the very end of acceptable lifespan. So this is going to inject a real
The lifespan is 15 years, and most of ours are 20 years old.
oh, wow.
And if you remember, some of you may remember, the city of Jackson donated a bunch to us to help us continue on in business. But yes, that was a big impact.
That's awesome. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay. All right, 911. I don't believe he's here. Okay. Everybody has a report from their meeting. And GIS. Is he here? I thought he was here. I think he must have left. Okay. We just kind of we went too long for him tonight. Well, he always does a good job. I think we've got our, do we have his report? Oh, yeah, here it is. No? Oh, here it is. Okay, but everybody has his report. I'll entertain a motion to approve all the reports.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The next thing on the agenda is the old business, the Fair Board permanent structure. Commissioner Anderson left. I talked to him briefly about it. He wasn't real sure of what we needed to do on our end. I know it doesn't require any money from the county.
Right. If you're okay with me speaking regarding
go
it,
ahead.
where I think we will wind up needing to make sure in the transition or the landing of this, everybody's in agreement. It's a good thing. We've done these facilities with, I think, soil conservation and others where the building was actually built on our property, but there was other funds that may have assisted in the building. I think, and again, our legal folks are already in the middle of this with us as well. There may be some legal maneuver of a document that will have to be exercised that says it becomes county property because of our general liability insurances, but obviously they would still then be responsible for their own liability of their actions and stuff, but it's going to physically be on our property. So to me, that's really the only thing, unless anybody takes exception to going forward with the concept, and we've done it again in the past, actually at the Ag Center with facilities. That's the only thing that we've just got to iron out when it's finally done, making sure that we transition it properly so it covers under insurance and the things
Right.
associated
I may
with
need to
that.
follow up with John tell you just to make sure, because I mean, he
Yeah,
had
and
said- he
he's
had-
aware of the
He
request
is.
and
He
the.
said, well, in this email I have right here, it says that we may not have to do anything, so.
Right, I think what
I
they're,
don't know.
but I just need to make sure that
For
we
the
land it
insurance.
right about liability insurance, because we're gonna get sued, even if it was their building, it's on our property, you're gonna get shotgun effect, so we just need to make sure that that part, it's just a documentation, we've done it before, I don't expect it to be a real problem.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that before we move on? Okay, next is the old workhouse surplus building.
Yeah, can I
Yeah,
speak to that?
go right ahead.
I think I haven't, I was out the last couple of
Yeah, we
meetings,
discussed
so
it
I know there was
briefly.
some discussion back and forth. This thing has kind of been all over the place for years, even before this cycle of commission was in place, about what to do and what not to do. Should we keep it? Should we let it go? Could we possibly render some funds out of that could go toward some other project we were trying to fix? Truthfully, at the moment, I don't know that it's urgent whether you surplus it or not, unless you want to go ahead and put it on the market. It'd be my understanding for you to actually, quote, put a RFQ out or P or whatever the right term would be for it, it would need to be surplused through the county, which is just a vote at the
Well, and I
commission
think
level.
the concerns last time were that the quotes of what they thought the building was going to cost was enormous, and they thought we'd be better off to keep it where it was, and,
Right,
you know.
and you'll still have that option, and I was gonna, that'll blend right into what I was gonna, if you're okay with it, because it's related to this. As you know, the commission, you were not able to attend, but the commission was unanimous, that was present, 16 of you, to go forward with juvenile detention, the Liberty School expansion, and to put the process in place for a small surplus facility. Now, at any point, these don't pencil out, if that's the way to think about it, because this phase is the due diligence, the cost, what would it look like, what do we see it, where would it be? If anything falls out during that process, it's still got to go back to the commission before the funding that would actually let the projects go. Now, there may be some RFPs or Qs for architects or people to construction management, any of the stuff that would be appropriate for some of them. I don't know exactly what the cost would be, but here's what I would know historically speaking. No matter what the cost is today, and certainly you would want to be frugal with anything you've done, but it'll never be cheaper than it is today. So if you do, at the end of the day, have the perception that you need it or it would be appropriate to have it, if you have the resource to do it, and it's very little funds in the big scheme of thing of the other projects that were, you know, it's the equivalent of making the payment, what, $5,000 more a year or something on what we're borrowing when you come to such a small project as that. That was also something that we thought Jeff Sweeney would be able to really manage without construction management and some of the other oversights because of the size of the project. But again, when the time comes, that can happen. I would just remind you, if you decide to surplus the building and you don't know specifically what need or where those funds would be best served, I would recommend that they go back into toward the $1 million that we borrowed from the rainy day fund, the old hospital fund, as the older commissioners would remember, whenever we made the land purchase with the city out there. Now, to date, I believe we've put in close to $400,000 of that money back, but our goal was over time to build that back. And if there's any funds that will be left over after the EMA transition into their facility, those funds are targeted, unless, again, the body decides to do otherwise. That's where they'll go back to. I'd recommend, till you knew a specific project for those funds, that if you do surplus it, I'd recommend that we say, and those funds to go back to there, so that it's clear about what that's going to
If
happen.
we were to surplus it, though, wouldn't we have to know what we were going to do with what was in the building for now?
Well, I think you would, just because you surplus it don't mean you have to sell it,
Okay.
but you can't sell it if you don't surplus it, is my understanding. This is a procedural maneuver when it comes to that. So there's nothing to keep you from surplus. I don't say you should recommend that tonight, but I'm just saying, even if you're not sold on where you're going on it, if you think that you're going to want to go a different direction, it's just a procedural thing that gets that out of the way. If the commission or the body was to come across an opportunity, somebody reached out and said, hey, you know, we could give you a nice deal on this building, this is going to help for this or whatever. Again, we couldn't sell it without the commission, but you will have streamlined the process versus 2 or 3 months and let me see, and how many people would we do there. Right now, we're thinking that we got a way to put a small facility right out there at the bus garage area, that
Right,
the
I
county
remember us
already owns some
discussing that.
property. So we're thinking that we can really go the least expensive route and get some functionality. But I do, and I've been talking with our surplus manager as well as Jeff, and we don't need to get too short-sighted that we don't build practically what we ought to have, but this does not need to be a Taj Mahal, doesn't need a kitchen, doesn't need, any of those kinds of things. But it probably needs a drive-through based system for the ins and outs, for people bringing things, coming and going, that kind of stuff. Does it have to have a small bathroom? That's something that can be discussed at the time. It's close enough to the other building, but practically speaking, just a toilet and a sink, again, not a shower and, jacuzzi and all those things would not be appropriate. The other two facility matters are juvenile, and again, we've got actually an advisory group that has been in place even longer than I've been here in this role as the mayor. Of course, you've been on it, Linda's been on it, it's got the judge on it, it's got the juvenile detention director on it, and it seemed like there's a couple other, I have the list. We would assume that we would continue on this journey, that they would be involved in the due diligence. Again, not that it doesn't come back to this committee to be looked at or any of the other committees or the commission to weigh in on what they think too much, too little. Can we do more? Why are we doing 10 beds or whatever the number would be? We'll go through that scrutiny once we got something tangible for you to look at and what we think it costs. And again, that's all this process is on all three of these projects. Now, the school system will roll under their umbrella for the building, but Sweeney or whoever they so choose, if they wish to do somebody else, will manage their project. But again, they'll have the oversight and to say they need 10 rooms, 8 rooms, 6 rooms, or whatever that be. But you'll be kept in the loop because, again, all funding is borrowed and under the responsibility of the county government. So we are the bricks and mortar side of it, but we're not deciding that they need 4 classrooms instead of 8, unless it was a financial situation that we couldn't afford or something. But we're not, it's not that side of the education that we're on.
Makes sense.
So I just want to, again, make sure everybody understands where this is going. And so I would expect this to show up here, but it may be another month or two because we got to get a few things so you have something tangible to work with. A napkin and what I think it ought to look like is a waste of your time till we see what the architects say. There's some things that are real specific about juvenile that you can do and can't do. You guys already know this. So, and we've got a lot of this work already done.
It is.
And so that'll be a real good starting spot for them to see about that. That one's the big one to gnaw on, in my opinion, for the commission to look at how we get to the finish line. But keeping in mind, again, as long as you don't go over budget in the range, we did create a revenue stream within the budget process that would not require a tax increase to do what we're thinking we can do. Now, if it gets out of hand with cost, you're either going to have to cut it or delay it or stop it. But right now, there's a good chance that we can get over the finish line, and we certainly, in my opinion, cannot continue to operate where we currently are for juvenile detention. I mean, it's deplorable.
Yeah, we've got to do
I've heard that
something.
term, and I think, people overuse that term.
No, it really is.
But I'm happy to take any of you down there and let you see what's going on. It's really not fit for people to stay in. And our juveniles, we got to believe, investing in them, that we're going to turn them around. And so we need the environment that's going to provide the education components, that they're handled in the right way. They're not exposed to things that they don't need to be exposed to, that makes them even more mischievous after they get out of there, like riding the school bus, Miss Yaki. Anyway, that's just, I'm just recapping on that because I see those items will circulate back here, but I wouldn't say they necessarily would be here next month. But it's not that you're out of the equation. It'll just take a few minutes to get the stuff together.
Commissioner Yawkey, you had a question? Okay, they're giving you a microphone.
Well,
If we want to build the metal building for surplus at X amount and how big, whatever, surplus brings in several thousands of dollars a year to at least make the note on that.
Oh, yeah, it would exceed.
I mean, it would exceed that. So as far as new revenue, we wouldn't, other than.
Yeah, it would sustain.
It would sustain itself is what I'm saying.
Itself off.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Because again, we're seeing numbers now that we actually have a structured way of managing surplus versus, there were things whenever I got here as mayor that I had surplused as the EMS director on my 17-year journey as the director that were still in the old gymnasium.
Yeah, there was a lot cleaned out.
And so they just go down further in value and you get nothing. And they're not new items or we wouldn't be surplusing them. So they're not high dollar stuff, but he was bringing in $10,000, $12,000 a month. Yeah, yeah, and it varies depending on what's being surplus. If we surplus in buses or computer technology or something, there's a rush on it, you're gonna see it. But if it's old toilet seats from the 70s, then, we're gonna have to put them on a pallet and hope somebody will buy
Right.
one.
Commissioner Vick had a question? Linda.
It was already on the agenda. It's
We-
been being discussed prior to now.
We've been discussing it on whether or not we needed to surplus it
Okay.
yet.
Okay,
So-
well, in asking that question, if you do surplus the building, that doesn't inhibit you or prohibit you from doing anything with the building. It just puts you on a faster track if the commission decides to sell it or,
Correct.
What happens if you surplus it and you keep it?
and you keep it. Yeah, that was my next.
It just has surplus status and you have it. Because we've gotten into that. In fact, even with the gymnasium, the school board had surplused it and we used it for years. But then when we got ready to actually offload it because it got transferred to us, they decided, well, wait a minute, there needs to be actually a county commission. We surplused it as well, and we ultimately done it. But that took another month or two as we were figuring out, going through the minutes, who has what, and do we need a survey, and is this really part of that building? So these are just things that, as they have come along, I believe there was a little bit of concern at your last meeting about what to do with it. Is the only reason I'm saying.
Yes.
I don't feel like that I stand before you saying, guys, I really think you ought to do this month. It's fine if you're ready, but I don't think it makes a difference one way or the other, a month or two. But I'm not so sure that we shouldn't go ahead and take the building does not appear, to be honest with you, that we could do anything practical with it long term.
It would
I mean,
ta- it
we've
would
looked
take
and
a lot of
explored every
remodeling
idea
and-
under the
right, a lot of
sun
money to put in.
for that building, and it's just not. So if we could get it surplus so that if we did come across the right scenario, again, back to the commission, the mayor don't have authority to do this by himself. You might get a chance to offload something. And now there are some buildings that's interesting on Lane Parkway. It seems to be picking up a little bit as to
Yeah.
what things are bringing, and people are,
Right.
there's a little bit of foot
There's
out
some
there.
interest right now.
And
yeah.
so interest rates might be hurting a few, but it might,
People that
but
have
it would
cash,
probably
it
be,
wouldn't.
yeah, I don't know if you'd want to turn down a really super deal if you were to get it, even if we had to run surplus out of the back of my car for a day or two,
Well, what is the wishes of the committee? I know we're missing a couple members, but.
I'd just soon delay this
Okay.
30 days. and
Yeah, just
come
defer it
back
to
to
next month or
I
something.
appreciate it.
Second.
Okay. And the other two were really just for your information. The only thing that was really on your agenda was the surplus of the workhouse. Are y'all in agreement with that? Understanding what's going to happen with the other two projects? Okay,
Definitely.
thank you.
Okay. So is everybody in agreement to defer that until next month and just continue the discussion? I'll just say all in favor. Okay, all opposed. Any new business?
I have a question since we're here. There's a few commissioners. I had some calls recently. Of course, we've had some storms coming through and a lot of rural residents that live in neighborhoods. Is there some way, there's a place that will take limbs and brush for county residents? I don't know if anything that we have. I know a lot of people have farms that can burn, stuff like that, but is there anything available?
Under the technically the way things are currently structured, I think the short answer is no.
Okay.
Now, it would seem easy enough to just say, oh, well, let's just pick one of our county properties or somewhere, and on Tuesdays we'll have a gate and you can open it. But according to the highway superintendent, which is really where we have to take some things, it's just not a lot of space there for it. And because it is rural and country where they can burn and what have you, it's not like the city where it's going to wind up on the main street. And that's so that's a little bit of the difference between a city and a municipality, or a county and a municipality, about some of these kind of things. We kind of got into that situation about actually disposing of commercial lumber and what have you. Now, our convenience centers are not permitted to take any kind of commercial anything. But we did get it changed where if you as a resident are tearing out your shower and you come with your door and the two sides that go on your shower, we've made a provision, a place for you to be able to put that. If Chad's home repair rolls up and says, hey, I was at Troy's house today, we tore this out, we want to throw it, they can't do it. And so it's almost sort of that same kind of deal. Then where does this go and then who's bringing what? So it's I don't mind revisiting it because it seems like I'd like to see us revisiting how we're accepting tires as well, because people just throw them out. And
Yeah, they do.
and it's sort of like trash. Even if you're open 7 days a week, people are going to throw trash out. But it does seem a little bit challenging to, I think it's Wednesdays. There's like one day a
Wednesday
week
morning.
in one spot. And I would like to see us revisit some of that. And so I'm going to look at it because, again, it's permitting restrictions on the convenience centers. I didn't realize that till I was elected mayor, that each one of those convenience centers is permitted by TDEC, and they establish and stipulate what can go in and it can't. Now, can you ask for a revision to a permit? Maybe. I got to look into it. But the difficulty of that is if you start making changes to it, then what, somebody wants to add this to it, and what about that to it? And then you wind up with a bunch of stuff that you don't want, because we ultimately are responsible for what goes in there, paying to have it disposed of. So, and again, city citizens, just to get on the record, city citizens can bring their private trash to the convenience centers. It's not a problem. The issue is commercial cannot go there. And again, the permitting process prohibits that. We don't allow Ward, Trace, Bell Buckle, or Normandy to pick up trash and then bring it there either. Now, if the citizen takes their trash there, throws it in their car, takes it there, it's fine. If they take it in their trash can, it's fine. It just can't come in a commercial system, so to speak. You can't have Chad's nephew going around picking up everybody's trash up and down the 3 streets to make money and then come and dump their trash. That then qualifies it as a commercial function. Now, if Chad's nephew picks up, my parents are in their 80s and the neighbor next to them is in their 80s, and they get their 2 trash because they're good people and they live next door to their grandparents, and they drop their trash when they drop it, that's not commercial. You follow me whenever we say the difference between what's going on there. And if you open up the window of commercial, then you're talking about tremendous expenses that the county will bear for dispose of trash, because everything we dispose goes to landfill, which means we pay fees for it.
Somebody just asked me.
Yeah, it's a
I
good,
know it's.
it's
you know,
hard not, well, it's
there's
hard to
rules, stuff
explain
like
that, no, we can't take brush.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean you can't take, and you got no trees? You know, so.
And some people don't have a place to burn in their backyard.
So let me
like
see
that.
if I can get a better answer, because I don't even like the answer I'm giving you, but we did look
Yeah.
at it one time before.
Seemed like they used to take some brush at the tire facility.
The city
The
does
city
have a burn,
does,
the
yeah.
city does have a burn pit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we wouldn't want the expense of hauling wood.
Exactly, yeah.
They can't take it to the convenience centers. Oh, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. That's a good question, because obviously these commercial, although I think we get complaints where people are taking a bunch of brush and things that they're charging somebody to pick up, taking to their house and burning, and then the neighbors are complaining that, you know, we got smoke and trash and everything blowing all over the place, and asking us to monitor that as well. And we had something similar to that kind of thing. And then now we've got trouble with people, they're not bringing anybody else's trash. Apparently they decide they just throw their trash out beside the house, right? And it's piled up over my head, and public health issue. And so we're really struggling with lots of different phenomenons. But I do think that tire issue is a problem that if we could do a little different, I think we could capture a few more of them, because they're everywhere. I mean, people, it's a real problem, and we don't have a good solution. I can't even figure out what day to dump tires. Yeah, we've had that problem too. Okay, but they hold water and mosquitoes. I mean, there's all kinds of, and then the breakdown of that, and if you burn them, that's outside of the rules of fire. My fire gun's still here. So you just got all these EPA and all kinds of things
Well, I
that
told them I
opens
didn't
up.
know, but I would ask. So
Well, you fall back to me, and I'll ask somebody for a little more. But it has come up before, because the city does allow their citizens
Right.
to bring their brush over there. But if I have somebody come professionally cut my trees in my yard in the city, they can't take
Exactly.
They can't take them
Exactly.
over there. They gotta take them, and I don't know who they're paying or what they're doing with them to get them, but they can't go to the city. They can't even drag them out to the end of the road and have them picked up, because I had somebody do that, and the city come back and says, you can't do that because it's a paid professional that you had cut your tree up. Now, if you're out in the yard cutting your tree up or digging up your bushes, you can drag it to the road and the city will pick it up. It's the very same logic about commercial and then what you're opening yourself up to for disposal reasons after that. So they have the very same rule, they just don't have convenience centers. theirs is working from a different, but they have a transfer station.
Okay. Does anybody have any other announcements?